Namaste, Radhe Radhe. A very warm, the International Day of Yoga wishes to all our beloved friends who are associated with yoga and with our Love to Share Foundation America. Let us start with the traditional remembrance and gratitude to our own master, the one who has put us in this path of yoga. Kalage sundarakaram sadaika priyadarshanam ajnana nashakam devam sadgurum Muralidharam. Yoga, I think, is one of the most vital needs for people like us who are the denizens of this world, especially during the current times where we need tremendous strength of the body, mind, keenness and sharpness of the intellect, and above all, joy within. Yoga, like dharma, karma, bhakti, I'm sure you are aware of these four terms, which has been widely used in the West and in the East alike. Yoga, bhakti, dharma, and karma. You know, all these four words have something very much in common. The secret of work, as per our ancient Indian tradition and culture, is fuse the means and the end. Consider the path as the destination, and we shall joyfully reach the destination. In other words, relish the path as much as we would relish the destination which a path may lead us to. Fuse the means and the end. Let us start with the word bhakti. Loosely translated, bhakti means devotion. But if you go a little deeper, bhakti means two things: the path of doing various activities, practicing various procedures in the path of devotion, and it also means the destination, which means an heart filled with devotion. That's also called bhakti. The means to that immense universal love which encompasses all and excludes none is also called bhakti. And the path like doing kirtans, the path like loving contemplation, the path like practicing gratitude is also called bhakti. Fuse means an end is the secret of Indian traditions, all of them. And let us go to the next word which I talked about, called dharma. Dharma is loosely translated as religion, righteousness, etc. But I'll tell you a secret. Dharma actually means nature, our nature. And what it really implies is, what is the highest nature which we can exude or which we can live with? The potential highest human nature is dharma. And dharma also means the various actions, behaviors, belief system, which takes us to the state of living our highest potential nature: compassion, love, truth, and control of our senses, being a master of our own self. All this is dharma. It is very beautifully shown as four legs of a cow called dharma. The four legs are truth, compassion, and ability to control our senses, penance. And the fourth leg is purity, inner purity and external purity. Then let us go to the next word, which is karma. Karma is any act, isn't it? But in Indian tradition, karma means not only the act, it also means the fruit or the consequence of the act or the choice which we make. See, the one word encompasses both the means and the end. Now let us come to the topic of the day, yoga. And now I am sure you got the thread of where I am coming to. Yoga means, apart from other things, yoga means two things. One is yoking, which means control. Yoga means union, and yoga also means state of samadhi, state of divine, one-pointed contemplation. Yoga encompasses both the means and the end. Starting with the various practices, routines, lifestyles, which touches our body, our breath, and our mind finally. The various practices is also called yoga. And the final end of yoga is samadhi. One of the founding fathers of giving structure to yoga, yoga is as ancient as this creation itself is what we believe. There are mentions of yoga in our most ancient scriptures. But a sage came by, at least 5,000 years back is what we believe in. And he codified this wonderful science, way of life, religion, darshana of yoga. And the name of the sage is Seth Patanjali. He gave us aphorisms, sutras. In that he defined yoga as the final cessation of these thought waves. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. And beautifully he built a foundation bottom up, starting with how we look at work. One of the most ancient texts in India called Mahabharata has very beautifully defined yoga in the context of work, karma. That Bhagavad Gita says, yogaha karmasu kaushalam. Yoga is skill in action. It also says, samatvam yoga uchyate, which means even-mindedness, being a witness, looking non-judgmentally, samatvam, not at others, but also at our own experiences, not judging something as this is pain, this is pleasure, I want pleasure, I want to avoid pain, type of a thing. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So, our ancient system of the science of yoga teaches us to look at work where we can fuse the means and end. Which means while I work, I am so much engaged in work that the very act of my work or very act of me doing a work itself gives me this tremendous joy because of the attention and passion I give to work. We get vexed by work when we look at work as a means alone for some reward to come in future. The moment time comes in, I am sure you would have noticed, resistance comes in, mental resistance. The moment time comes in, we lose the joy of work. One of the wonderful American philosophers, I think it was Emerson, Ralph Emerson, he very beautifully says that the very reward of work is to have been given an opportunity to work itself. He beautifully has paraphrased Karma Yoga brilliantly in a very Western context. So, yoga to start with is we look at work, and we look at work even-mindedly, and we put all our energy into work so that work does not become a burden. We don't resist work, and we get the joy of being engaged in work with passion. Then yoga moves to bodily control, having a supple body, giving us various exercises which is in tune with the physiological model of ancient India. And there are asanas. Asanas is the various postures, and then there are various namaskarams like Surya Namaskaram, and I'd like to refer to it as Surya Namaskaram. We have imbibed a lot of Latin words, French words in English. There is no harm in naming sun salutation as Surya Namaskaram, giving due credit to the source. I am old fashioned maybe. So this first step is to make the body fit, strong, able, and that's called Hatha Yoga. And mostly, I think people who are not too much introduced to yoga consider that as the yoga, the exercises of stretching, postures, sitting postures, stretching postures, various asanas, the lotus posture, etc., Padmasanam. Actually, in yoga, it is the foundation, is a starting point, and then comes the control of breath. The ancient yogic, can I call spiritual scientists in India, they realized that breath is a bridge between body and the mind. Mind is very difficult for us to hold on to. I am not able to control my mind by commands. And they found out a lovely way to do that. They found out that if I can control body movements, if I can sort of still my body, control my body movements, be aware of my body, and if I am aware of my breath, control my movement of breath, which is threefold: inhalation, retention, exhalation. It is called Purakam, Kumbhakam, Rechakam in Sanskritam. And they have realized that if I can still my bodily movements and control my breath and still my breath, mind seems to come under its control. I am able to still the mind over practice. So, if at all there is something called a practical religion which can be experimented and largely universal in its appeal, I dare say it is yoga. If we can take an aspect of Indian spirituality and take it across denominations of the world, I dare say it is yoga, because those practices work. They work like a charm. And so I was saying that yoga is both means and the end. The means of the yoga is this: first is our routines and our lifestyle, yama and niyama. Then comes our exercises. First is asana, which is our bodily posture control, and pranayama, which is the control of the movement of breath. In our philosophy of yoga, breath is not merely air going in and going out. It is the outermost layer of this vitality we have within us. The innermost is the various subtle nerve currents, which also goes by the word prana. And this subtle nerve currents seems to influence our thought process, and that's how pranayama can control thought process. For those who are very interested in going deeper, I would suggest you take the first pada of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Translations are available. Look at the 33rd and the 34th Sutra. I don't have time to expand on that. Some other point we will dwell on yoga in detail. In that it talks about how to bring about cheer, chitta prasadanam. How do I bring out cheer in my mind? So they give two lovely options. One is I associate myself with positive spiritual people, satsanga. I also associate various emotions and how I should approach the experiences of such emotions. Compassion, joy and indifference, or rather neutrality. Compassion when I see somebody afflicted, joy when I see happiness in others, and neutrality when it comes to people who seem to not like me. And then in the 34th Sutra, Patanjali Maharishi says, or I will give you another option, control your breath, the inflow, the outflow and the retention of the breath. That's how practical it is. And the end is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which is also the meaning of yoga, which means Yuj Samadho. That's a state of a complete dynamic silence in the heart, where actions, thoughts if required, behaviors if required, just flow effortlessly without resistance, without any effort in or out. What we call as flow, is that state of Sahaj Samadhi. That's the state where the great realized masters of all over the world, that is the state they constantly lived in. A state of inner poise, inner well-being, no resistance of the mind, no unnecessary thinking, complete control over the inner and at times external nature also. And so yoga finally leads us to that state of absolute joy, which is our entitlement. You see, I know this word has gone into rough weather now. We are entitled as humans to our true nature in our heart, which is joy, which is love. Love, joy. And yoga leads us there. So yoga is both the means to that joy and love, which is our true inner self. And yoga is also the means to reach there. We have two wonderful yoga instructors with us, teachers with us, Shrisa ji and Geeta ji, who are going to take us through some simple practices of yoga, which I am sure can supplement our pursuit to happiness, our pursuit to perfection, and our pursuit to that infinite universal love which embraces all and excludes none. My special thanks to the Love to Share Foundation America, specifically to Dr. Lakshmiji for inviting me to deliver a few thoughts as a keynote address on this very important day for all of us, the International Day of Yoga. May the One fill our hearts with love and joy, and may He make the world a happier place. May she make all of us happy and loving. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.